The Christmas period can be a special time for many. However, it can also be a challenging one, particularly for older people and those who may be isolated or vulnerable. With colder weather, shorter days and the busy pace of the season, a little extra care and awareness can make a huge difference. With some advice on how the elderly and vulnerable can look after themselves this Christmas and how families, friends and neighbours can help support those who may need it. I'm joined on the line by two guests, the former president of Active Retirement Ireland and Shannon resident Kay Murphy, and the disability, human rights and climate justice activist Anne-Marie Flanagan. And a very good morning to both of you. And thank you so much for joining us. Kay, from your experience knowing and working with older people, what can make Christmas a potentially mixed time of joy but also difficulty that can add pressure or even loneliness for elderly members of the community?
Good morning, Alan, and happy Christmas to you. Thank you for having me on.
And thank you, Kay, for being with us.
It's a lovely time of the year. It's a wonderland for children and it's a family time. But as you said, an awful lot of older people find it very tough for a whole range of reasons. Some people might be facing their first Christmas without a loved one, and they'll find Christmas very lonely, and we should all take a moment to think about the people around us. As you said, our neighbours and friends, colleagues, and just be mindful, because the best thing you can do for anybody at Christmas is contact. Naturally, you can contact people by phone, but if you contact them personally, it's the best Christmas for them. Then they know that you care and that you knock at the door and you come in, or you bring a bowl of soup, or if the weather is bad, you do their shopping, or just it's to be very mindful of those around you and of your neighbours. And if you have people living on their own, they may have nobody to contact them, or their family are abroad, very much away from them, and the phone call would suffice. But sometimes that doesn't happen either. But that of course, Christmas is incredibly expensive as well, and for everybody, not only for older people, but being an older person, you like to be able to spoil your children and your grandchildren and to make them smile. And when we're in the middle of a cold and a dark winter, many people living on a pension are struggling to feed themselves and heat their homes. It can be very stressful, and people don't realise that, because we all go a little bit mad at Christmas and we all say, "I'll look at Elvis, we'll see the new year," and we all overspend. Everybody does.
Yeah, everyone pushes the boat out.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as you know, we get a Christmas bonus, which is great and always welcome. And this year is no different. But with the rising costs of everything, from groceries to energy to retail to hospitality, it's less of a bonus and more of a lifeline. But of course, a Christmas bonus sounds better. But in actual fact, it is a lifeline. And people living on a pension are grateful for it, because the reality is, without it, many would have no Christmas at all, because there's nothing to spare from the weekly pension, and once the basic living expenses are covered, there's very little left. We're getting €10 the 1st of January, and by the time we get it, it won't really increase our pensions, because the cost of living will have caught up with it and gone over it, and that's a bit overwhelming for everybody. And I would just advise people really to sit back and relax. And I would advise those that have older people on their own and their neighbours, just, as I said, to be vigilant, to watch out for them, but to call. It doesn't matter if you come in the door with your two hands hanging one longer than the other. They're not looking for anything. But the contact, the human contact, is so important at Christmas for everybody.
Yeah, that is for sure for everybody. And Anne-Marie, a lot of what Kay is saying there, does that chime with you? Or are there any other issues or scenarios that Christmas period can present that can be challenging for those with disabilities?
Yeah. Good morning, Kay, and good morning, Alan. And before I start, like we in the Clare Leader Forum, just want to say to Clare FM, without your assistance, we wouldn't always be able to get our message out, and you've been incredible to us all through the year. We just wanted to say thanks to that first. But to add to Kay, I suppose there's a couple of things that can be unique to disabled children and adults. Access is a big issue, and access is physical access, it's attitudinal. And just to remember, when businesses and events are being organised in our parishes and in our villages and communities, just to think about being inclusive. And that could be from ensuring that access to Santa Claus has been thought about from children and disabled children and their different needs. Because that's really important for everybody in the family to have the same fun. And I would also say to businesses, whether it is places that have concerts or pantos or Christmas movies, to think that it's really important to consider the pricing for disabled children and adults access. So if you see an auntie or a cousin or a friend coming along or a personal assistant, that's often an additional cost either to the adult with a disability or to the parents who need to bring along the auntie if there's assistance, so that you know, it's really asking either to give a discount or to give a complimentary ticket for somebody assisting a disabled person. That can be a huge issue. I would also say that there are a lot of disabled people depending on service providers and people to come and provide assistance and support. And while you might want the day off and you might feel frustrated, maybe just to do that with compassion and fun to try and make the day as enjoyable for everybody else. And, everyone is appreciative of the effort and time that people put in. And then for families, and I think sometimes families can be a bit tricky because, in quotes, we always do it this way. But if you're having a family, to think about the niece, the nephew, the cousin, the uncle that may need access needs, and to talk together and look at if there's a venue or a home that's not accessible, what can we do to make sure that Johnny or Margaret doesn't have to stay at home or be excluded, because it's often more difficult, isn't it, when we have intimate relationships, to ask for things to be done differently. And then I would say to disabled adults and maybe parents of children, don't be afraid to ask for help, to name your needs and to say, this is what we need to enjoy Christmas as well. Because it is, as Kay said, it's about trying to make it as joyful and fun and inclusive as possible.
Yeah, and I think you're so right there, Amy. Being accommodating as possible, not just having things set in stone, because as I was saying, that's the way we've always done it. And Kay, your advice was great as well. And you did touch on, rising cost of living and so on, and fuel, energy, heating comes into that as well. But what practical tips would you share around staying safe at home during the colder weather, and also some older people, maybe they wouldn't feel confident about reaching out and asking for help when they need it? How can they do so?
Well, I suppose pride is a great thing, and we all have our own pride and we all hate asking for help. Really and truly, we have so many organisations, I can only speak for Shannon here now, that work tirelessly all the year round, not only at Christmas, but especially at Christmas, really and truly. You have St. Vincent de Paul, you have the Lions Club, you have all, even Active Retirement Ireland. And the thing is to watch and to advise and to be there. They're always at the end of a phone, and they're there to help. And nobody should be afraid to ask for help, really and truly. Because that's what people love to help people, really, and as I said earlier, it's being vigilant. It's watching that the curtains are open on a day or that the smoke is out of the chimney. And for older people on their own, the most important thing really outside of food is heat. Because if you don't have heat in your house, you get sick. And that you don't want to do that.
No. And
you should eat properly. If you only made a pot of soup on a Monday, to do nearly until Friday. And I know that's basic enough now, but really and truly, when you think about it, Christmas is one day. And to all of those people out there who have relatives on their own or who have relatives far away, present is a lot better than a present. Really and truly, if you come to the door or if you visit, not to get into a flat now, don't be worrying about the cakes and don't be worrying about the insides or whatever. Just relax. Come in, sit down, make yourself a cup of tea and make your relative a cup of tea, and realise, as I said earlier on, about people this year that are on their own for the first time. That's going to be very, very hard. Very hard.
Yeah, very, very true. And just final quick word to yourself, Anne-Marie. I suppose we'd be hopeful that friends, family, neighbours will be as conscientious and mindful of those who are elderly or vulnerable and be there when they need them. But over the Christmas period in Clare, any particular supports or services people should be mindful of that should they need to reach out?
Yeah, I would say to people too, if you are connected with an organisation or service provider, to give them a call and just to state if there's an additional need. Because to be honest, all we can do is ask. The worst thing somebody can say is no. But most people, as Kay said, are good and kind and want to help. I love, Kay, what you just said. Presence rather than presence. That is the most important thing. And if we're sitting at home thinking, God, I haven't called that person, or they probably don't want me to call, drop that and give the text or call or knock at the door and ask if somebody wants to get out of the house. That's one thing. Often if people have access issues, transport issues, maybe people don't have enough personal assistance support hours, or maybe parents who are supporting a child with disability maybe don't have enough offers for babysitters so that they can get out for a night or a walk or a lunch together. That's something maybe that family can do as well, to offer support, to say, listen, I know you don't have your PA this weekend, or I see that you've got you haven't got out, can we help, can I help? And I think that would be a lovely gift to offer somebody.
I just want to say thanks, not just for this morning, but to both of you for joining us throughout the year and throughout the years. Really do appreciate it. Happy Christmas to both of you, and a safe New Year, and we'll speak to you again in 2026. My thanks there to Anne-Marie Flanagan and Kay Murphy before as well, for being with us and for having that and being on hand with that great advice for the elderly and vulnerable over the Christmas period. And my thanks to both of you, and we'll chat again in the new year.